Kona, Hawaii is home to the most important event in the sport of triathlon, the Ironman World Championship. For the past 2 years, Kona has become the home for one of the top Ironman triathletes, Chris Lieto, who has won 3 Ironman titles in his long and distinguished career. Besides his Ironman wins in Wisconsin, Canada, and Japan, Lieto has won over a dozen other races, has 3 top 10 finishes in the Ironman World Championship, and took second place at the 2011 Ironman 70.3 World Championship at Lake Las Vegas. In one of his greatest performances, he led the 2009 Ironman World Championship throughout the bike and into the run. He held that lead until mile 22 of the marathon and ended up with an impressive second-place finish. Because of injuries, Chris will not be racing in Kona this October. Instead, he invited us to spend some time with him and his family so that we could get an up-close and personal look at how Chris deals with injuries, how he incorporates other fitness techniques into his schedule, and more importantly, how he balances training time, recovery time, and family time. Since most triathlons begin with the swim, we asked Chris to kick off this series with his thoughts on swimming. When you're doing this race, in terms of positioning, we think about the pros all the time for Kona, but there's a lot of people, this is probably their only time here. What do you tell them about the swim? It's a mass start. Mass start is always a lot scarier than wave starts.
Yeah, the swim start, we have a big bay, and I think a lot of people tend to start towards the pier, which is a straight line down all of the buoy lines, but you really only have to go around the turn buoy. But if everyone's compiled in one area, you don't necessarily have to be there. If you're a strong swimmer and you go out really well and fast, you're not going to get swum over, you can start in the front in that area if you choose to. I always encourage them to line up in the area of their experience. You start in the back, you know, or wait until the gun goes off and you're on the beach and walk in and then dive in. You're going to actually swim faster than if you get knocked and bumped and hit.
That's a good point.
Also, though, because the swim start is so wide, don't start at the piers. Start down towards the rocks. You know, and you don't want to go up against the rocks, but you have all that room to where you can still swim in the shallows. And sometimes that current in that area will actually pull you along faster than if you start in the deep area right next to the pier. You know, one year I think it was just Nico and myself, and we swam by ourselves in the shallows until the turn, and we met the group at the turn and we were in the front. And so it made it easy that we didn't have to fight to gain feet or to find areas. So line yourself up accordingly, look for clean water. If it's a tight swim start and you're going to have to be in a group, try to get on the end. So if it gets hectic, you always have an out. You're not stuck in the middle. You get stuck in the middle and you get sandwiched, then you have nowhere to go. It's important when you swim in the ocean that you don't just go in and swim easy. So we want to be very specific in what the purpose of the workout's going to be. So today, warm up for 10, 15 minutes, get loose, and we're going to do 8 by, if you're doing a half Ironman, I would say you want to do 3 to 4 minutes. If you're doing an Ironman, you want it to be more like 5 or 6 minutes. The odd ones are going to be fast, and the even ones are going to be easy. As you go on the fast ones, you start out at a fast pace, and then you build to your Ironman or half Ironman pace, and then you finish strong. And then you do the easy ones to recover, and then you go back at it again. And you want to be able to make sure you hit all of these, the fast ones, at that same pace and same effort. You don't want to go out really fast on the first one, and the 8th one you're dying. You count your strokes, or you have, okay, from buoy to buoy, to make sure you get it, or do loops. When we're doing our fast pacing, you definitely want to focus on looking up and seeing where you're going. You're swimming 4 or 5 strokes, you glance up with your left arm forward, you glance, you go back down, and then again when your left arm's in front again, you're looking up again to confirm what you saw is what you saw and you're going the right way. And then you keep your head down again to make sure your alignment is good. Because if you're swimming with your head up the whole swim, your bum's going to drag, your feet are going to drag, and you're going to swim a lot slower. So you got to make sure that the alignment that you have, that you practice in the pool when you stare at a black line, when you're out in the open water, you definitely want to keep that head position and your body alignment in that same way. So that way you're swimming on top of the water, you keep your alignment straight, and only look up when you need to look up.
In our next episode, Chris tells us how he turned his bike into a lethal weapon and shares one of his favorite workouts with us, an interval workout on the road to Hawaii. Chris Lieto has a not-so-secret weapon. It's his ability to ride his bike faster than any other triathlete in the world. He has set bike course records at Ironman Canada, Japan, and Malaysia, to name just a few. In Kona, Chris has been first off the bike the past 3 years and has the second fastest bike split in Kona history, 4:18:32. In this episode, we get to tag along with Chris as he takes us on one of his favorite bike rides out to the coastal town of Hawaii. He has learned over time that it's one thing to put in the long training miles, but to ride fast, you have to always focus on wattage and pace if you want to get better. We asked Chris about his strategy for overcoming the elements on the toughest bike course in the Ironman series. So one of the things, when I talk to Craig Alexander, talk to Chris McCormick, they always talk about from 90 miles on, Lieto's going to gain a bunch of ground on us, you know, from 90 on in. Mainly, I think a lot of the times those guys are sitting up a little bit, getting ready for the run.
Yeah.
And at that point, is it a conscious thing on your part to try to put more ground on between 90 and 112, or is it just something that happens?
Yeah, it's just something that happens. I mean, I'm riding my race, I'm riding my ride, really just dosing how much power I put in from the beginning until the end, and we try to keep it constant the whole way. You know, they do ease up a little bit and they do get tired. You know, everyone from mile 90 on are exhausted. I'm exhausted. And so you just try to maintain that. The biggest factors of this course is going to be the heat. The heat can get up to 94 out here in town, but out on the highway you get that radiant heat from the fields and the lava. You're surrounded by black sea of rock. Also the wind, there's no course like it where the winds can blow as hard as they blow here. So the first hour is very important to make sure you do not go too hard and to make sure you get your nutrition and your fluids in and your calories in. The middle part of the bike ride, or the meat and potatoes out the course, is definitely to set your pace and be constant in that. And then the last hour of the bike course is also very important to look at my watts on my bike to make sure that I'm still performing where I want to perform, to make sure that my pace is still where I want to be. You know, every year it's a little bit different because you have to be a little bit more tactical now on the men's race, and so you have to adjust things a little bit differently and learn, you know, how much time do I want to get, what's everyone else doing, are they riding in a group atmosphere to conserve for the run. So every year is a little bit different, but you have to adjust to it, and I'm always just riding my ride, and if it gets me 5 minutes or if it gets me 10 minutes, that's what I was given at that time. And I was always shooting for running a low 250 marathon, and that was what I was capable of. And the majority of the time, or in the last few years, if I was to do that, I would have been close to winning or winning. Today we're going to do a bike workout that really will help you focus on Ironman or half Ironman. We're going to focus on our effort and sustained effort. We're going to do a warm-up of 30 to 60 minutes, build in your efforts. Do 2 minutes easy, then 2 minutes moderate, and then 2 minutes fast. Make sure that your legs are open, and so it's very important to focus on warming up your body and preparing yourself to make sure that you can get quality in your workout. So 4 by 20 minutes, the first 5. You're going to be a little bit slower than the pace that you want to do. 10 minutes at that pace, and then 5 minutes faster than that pace. So everything is looking at progressing through your workout as you would do in a race as well. You don't want to go out too fast in a race, you want to build in it. And then if you're doing an Ironman, like for me, I would build up to that would be 4 by 60 minutes, where I do 10 minutes slightly below my Ironman pace, and then I'll do 40 minutes at that Ironman pace, and then finish with 10 minutes at like a half Ironman pace. The biggest improvement that I had on the bike was when I started to focus on my wattage and not just on heart rate. So that way with wattage, you know exactly where you are, you know you can watch it and see if you're slowing down. It's just all about finding measurements in your workout to note, and then when you go back at it and you do that workout again to see, am I seeing any improvements, and am I doing these workouts correctly? One of the great tips that I would say for this course especially is we're going to see a lot of winds in most cases, usually up towards Javi, the wind's blowing. And how do you ride in the wind? And when you're going up, if the wind's blowing from the side and it's gusting and you're in the aero bars, you kind of have to commit to being in that, and you don't want to be half in, half out. When you're applying pressure and continually pushing yourself forward, you're going to cut through the wind. If you hesitate and coast and stop pedaling is when you're going to get blown around the most. If the wind's getting too much, then get on the hoods and do the same thing, but you kind of just have to commit to it and just go for it.
In our next episode, Chris takes us through some of his core and strength workouts and the value of recovery. Chris Lieto did his first Ironman back in 1998, and 14 years later, he's still going strong. His longevity is a testament to his dedication to training and to recovery. No one knows his body or what it needs like Chris Lieto. At the age of 40, Chris Lieto is still at the top of his game and is still the best cyclist in the sport. He recently moved from Northern California to Kona and feels the move has helped him to better balance his training, racing, recovery, family, and charity. Taking time off from running because of a nagging calf injury, Chris shared some of the core workouts he has now added to his routine. He also shared his thoughts on the importance of recovery. So, Chris, take us through what your after would be. You just finished a race. What do you do from there to recover?
For sure, it's getting in as much fluid as you can. Fluid with ideally calories. So a chocolate milk is ideal because you get in the calories, you get in the fluids, and you're getting in a balance of protein as well, which is essential. You know, in the past, I didn't drink a lot of dairy. And they asked me if I would endorse chocolate milk, and I said, I don't know if I'm the right guy for that. I don't know if I'm the right one because I don't drink it. But I said I'm willing to learn a little bit more about it. You know, I want to get on the phone with some scientists. If this is truly good for me, then it's going to be good for my kids. It's going to be good for my whole family. So let's research and find out what are the true research behind it. And so we hit them with some hard questions, and I was impressed with it. My wife was impressed. We said, okay, let's try it out. And so for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I drank chocolate milk after all of my hard workouts, and I felt like I bounced back a lot better. And I realized during that period of time that I leaned out even more. You know, I don't know if it was from the calorie intake that I was doing, or if it was getting a little bit of the fats from the milk. But as far as the proteins, to make sure that I'm maintaining the lean muscle. And I think it was just training my body to burn more fat and just getting a good bounce back and keep my muscles healthy and recovering. Also, in the last few years, the biggest passion of mine now is more than sport. And so when I'm done with an event, I'm always looking at, before the event, what can I do post-race, and what can I get athletes that are racing as well to get involved in to give back. Embrace your family, embrace those in need, and have that community of what triathlon was from the beginning and will be forever, but just embrace those in need around us.
You've won 3 Ironman titles. When you look back at your career and everything you've accomplished, were those your greatest races? What races do you look at and go, those were my best days?
2009 World Championships for sure. That was a really good day. It was a very difficult day as well when you get that close. Yeah, you know, I don't keep a lot of stats and a lot of
I'll ask your son.
Reserve. Yeah, my son knows all the stats. He knows which ones I was most passionate about. But yeah, you know, I always move on to the next race, you know, and move on to what's next, you know, and I really don't hold anything. I appreciate those wins. I feel blessed to be a part of those wins. Times I've gotten second or whatever, but I don't hold my life to those. There's more things that are more important than that. That's really the message that I want to leave when I'm done in this sport is a little bit more of balance, enjoying the sport, and pushing yourself still at the same time to race as hard as you can to get the most out of you, to push yourself. And you need aspiring athletes to do that, like Craig Alexander has been for me in the last few years as well. So yeah, it's a great sport. I love it. Strength is something you really have to focus on, and you look at every pro athlete that I know of will work on that. And as you age, you got to make sure that you focus on that, and you don't have to put in as many hours on the bike or hours running, you know. So for me, it's hips and glutes and core, and so that's where I have to focus to recruit my core to keep me to run fast, and not just recruit my hamstrings and my hips. I find it's extremely important. All right, so we got the warrior pose, which is the warrior pose just to stretch and open up your hips and your glutes and your core. Then we do with the one-legged squat and a two-legged squat just to warm up. The one-legged squat is more to activate your glutes and to fire your glutes instead of just your quads and your hamstrings. You want to make sure you're recruiting the right muscles that you want to recruit. And then we go into the plank pose. In the plank, you move your hands out a little bit in front of your shoulders, and what that does is it makes you recruit a little bit more of your core. And then as you advance in that plank pose, you can do lift one leg at a time. And as you advance past that, you can lift one leg and opposite arm. And that just fires a little bit more of the little sides of the core, a little bit more of the obliques. You know, we do a side plank, which activates more of the obliques, and then you can add a rotation and a twist to that where the arm goes through you, and that just activates the obliques and core at once. We take a rock and we'll do lunges. As you take one step, you twist to one side, so it just keeps your core, it keeps your balance going. We did one-legged hops, and the one-legged hops is just to activate the small muscles in your foot. For me, I found with my Achilles and my calf stuff, it's really important to get that balance of that foot and that strength of that foot. You don't want to always rely on shoes to support you. You want to have less support in your shoes and maximize the strength in your feet. Then we do like the rock throws, just to, as far as to do some blasts where you're throwing up the rock and activating your core. The rock carry, we go in the ocean and we just carry the rock on the bottom, and what that does is it will stress you on an anaerobic as far as capacity. You know, you grab that rock, you're on the bottom for as long as you can, and your quads will be burning. And what that does is just creates more capillaries in your system and your muscles, so you can carry more oxygen and be more efficient with the oxygen that you have. When you're hammering on the bike or doing a really fast run, you just have more to pull from and more oxygen to grab from.
In our final episode, the man who is always pushing the pace at the front gives us a guided tour to the most famous Ironman course in the world.
We are here in Kailua, Kona, Hawaii, home of the Ironman World Championships. Today I'm here to give you guys a guided tour through the swim, bike, and run of this great course. I've raced here more than a dozen times. I've lived here for the last 2 years, so I'm your perfect guide to show you the specific pieces of this course. So come and join me on this great experience. The swim starts here in the bay right next to the pier, 2.4 miles in total. It's a straight out swim for 1.2 miles to the turn buoy. And then you make a right hand turn, there's 2 turn buoys. If you're a spectator here watching the Ironman for the swim, the best place to see is you definitely want to see the start of the swim. The start's amazing. The cannon goes off and it's just a mass start. So you can sit on the seawall in town. The seawall is definitely the best place to be. We are at the 2.4 mile turn buoy. You make a right hand turn right here and you're on your way home. And you exit here at the pier as well, and then you start out on the bike course. On the bike course, it's a 112-mile bike ride, starting in Kailua, Kona, through town, out to Hawi. And you turn around and it's a straight shot back from Hawi. The bike course rides through town. You go past the swimming pool, you go up to the highway, and then you drop back down into town on Palani Road. And then you go up Old Kuakini Highway, you go up to the turnaround, and you come back down the hill into the town again. And then you're out on the highway, and you go straight out the highway to Kauai High corner. It's a stop sign, straight shot till you hit the stop sign, and then you make a left-hand turn down into Kauai High. You make your first right, and then it's a climb up to Hawi. A little bit of a rollers, but most of it is going to be a climb. That's where you can see a lot out of wind blowing. You'll see it on your right-hand side. It'll blow you off to the left a little bit. We are here in Hawi at the turnaround of the 112-mile bike leg of the Ironman World Championships. We've ridden the highway up to this turnaround point, which is roughly around 60-65 miles. And on the way back, it's a little bit of a downhill, back to Kauai High, past Waikoloa and the Mauna Lani, and heading back into Kailua, Kona town. Come back into town and you hop off your bike here at the pier, and then you start your marathon. You go out on the run course, 26.2 miles. You zigzag a little bit through town. You go down to Ali'i Drive. You go down Ali'i all the way down to the Painted Church. You turn around at the Painted Church, you come back through town. In town, that's about mile 8. You come up Palani Road. At the top of Palani, I believe that's mile 10. You go out to the Energy Lab, straight shot out on the highway to the lab. We're here at the Energy Lab, here at the run course of the Ironman World Championships. This part of the run course is where the difficulty usually hits in. This is roughly between miles 15 and 18, and this is where it gets really hot. Usually this section of the run course, the wind dies down in here, the heat rises a little bit, and because of just the location and where you are in the marathon is where usually the wheels will fall off for some people. You come out of the lab and you make a right-hand turn, and you're a little bit more than 6 miles until home. The last little bit, with about a mile or so to go, you have to run up a hill to the top of Polani. And then you make your last little turns down till you get to Elite Drive for the final stretch home. The fans will be going crazy. There's a lot of cheers. You hear Mike Riley on the microphone, bringing everybody in, yelling that you're an Ironman, and you're finally done, and the day is done. You met your goal, and you, as far as completed the Ironman World Championship course. Thanks for joining me. We made it. We're here at the Ironman World Championship finish line. I hope you enjoyed the course tour. Hopefully we'll see you here one day.